Al Jazeera.
Brett McGurk was a senior advisor to the U.S. ambassador in Iraq, concentrating on the government formation in Baghdad. He was also a lead U.S. negotiator on the security agreement between Washington and Baghdad that's set to expire at the end of this year. Currently with Columbia University, he joins us live now from New York. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mr.
Great, thanks for having me.
It seems as if Muqtada al-Sadr has gone back to Iraq at the prime opportunity. It seems as if conditions are ripe for him to have maximum influence.
Well, again, like anything in Iraq, we need to wait and see how events unfold. I've read a lot today that, Sadr has 40 seats in the new parliament and he's never been more powerful. But he had 30 seats in the last parliament and the new parliament has 50 more seats. So he's kind of exactly where he was 4 years ago. What's changed significantly is that the Mahdi army is not what it used to be. And you need to distinguish between the Mahdi army, which is a threat to Iraq's stability, and the Sadrist trend, the Sadrist current, which Muqtada represents, which is a very legitimate, very important, very critical component of Iraqi society, which is moving in a very more moderate political direction. Where
did that change occur? You're talking about the fact that Sadr is quite legitimate, and that he and his followers are real, actual players in the political situation. How did that change occur between the U.S. considering him basically as an extreme radical cleric and someone that they have to understand is necessary and vital to the future of Iraq?
Well, certainly the texture of U.S. policy in Iraq has changed quite a bit over the years, and I think right now it's about exactly where it should be. We've certainly made mistakes in the past. But Muqtada, his father, his father-in-law represent a part of Shia Islam, a part of the dispossessed Shia masses, the urban masses in Iraq, which we probably didn't understand at first. But I will say, a lot of here goes to Muqtada's actions. In 2003, 4, 5, 6, again in 2007, he declared uprisings against U.S. troops. What happened in 2008 was that the Iraqi army developed to a level in which it could defeat the Mahdi army in the streets of Basra and then in the streets of Sadr city. So therefore, the balance of forces changed dramatically. In 2008, you saw Sadr move his movement from a militancy movement more to a political movement, and that's what we've seen. The sequence of events over the last month are very interesting. It's important for viewers to understand, as many of them will know. About 2 weeks ago, Muqtada Sadr denounced Asab al-Haq, which is a breakaway movement from the Mahdi army, which is still dedicated to the force of arms and militancy. It's interesting that that break came, the very public break came, 2 weeks before he returned to Iraq.
Right.
So it shows that Muqtada is moving in a more political direction. He's an important player in Iraq. When I was there during government formation, Iyad Alawi was speaking regularly with Muqtada Sadr, as was Maliki, as were some of the other political leaders. So we're going to have to see this develop. But the important thing is that it's moving in a political direction, and that was not the case 3 years ago.
I just want to come in and mention Iran, because as we understand, he's been in Qom in Iran for the past 3 to 4 years. He has very strong ties to Iran. What about the claim that all this effort that the U.S. has put in to invading Iraq, toppling Saddam Hussein, and with the likes of Muqtada al-Sadr coming back to the country, increasingly influential with those strong ties to Iran, you've handed Iraq to Iran on a platter?
Yeah, I think that claim, which I've heard before, is completely overblown, and we can talk about it in more detail when we have more time. But, the Iranians have tried to make the Mahdi army a Hezbollah-like movement on Iraqi soil, and it didn't stick, because the Sadrist movement is an Iraqi nationalist movement. A lot of the Sadrists fought against Iran in the war in the 1980s. It's the defining experience of their lives. So Muqtada Sadr is an Iraqi nationalist. He's now back in Iraq, and Iran's influence over him will be far less substantial than it would have been had he remained in Iran. Again, Iran-Iraq relations are going to develop over the coming years, but the notion that Iraq is somehow now in the hands of Iran, I think, is really overblown.
Brett McGurk, thanks a lot for joining us. Fascinating hearing your thoughts.
Thank you so much.
Now, reconstruction has barely begun in Haiti a year after its devastating earthquake. That's according to Oxfam. In a new report, the